Welcome to No More and Guess Less with Teresa. Now, this one is a doozy because the social judgment involvement theory and the elaboration likelihood theory are an assessor's dream. They love to ask you about these two theories, and they're actually quite easy to understand. Remember, we're still talking about theories in the persuasive sphere, and we are trying to come to terms with how people tick when it comes to convincing. So the social judgment and involvement theory, you can already see that it's hung up on two particular decision-making processes. When people are confronted with persuasive messages, this particular theory says that you either run the message past your anchor points or you run the message via your ego involvement points. What are these two exactly? Anchor points are internal reference points that we use to compare people, products, issues, and ideas. You can see comparison. So that has to do with you being all rational, with you being all neutral. So, for example, I get a message of a Pick and Pay offering a wonderful 4 for 100 Rand special. In terms of my anchor points, I would say 100 Rand for 4 different items of vegetables, that's a great deal. But wait a second, haven't I seen a similar deal for only 20 Rand more at Woolworth, but the quality of the vegetables is actually a little bit better? If I evaluate persuasive messages like this in a neutral and very objective way, I am on the anchor point side. However, a lot of persuasive messages nowadays run past our ego involvement inside factors. What I mean by that is, when we are confronted with a message, we're not being objective anymore. We are evaluating these messages according to social judgment or involvement. Or we're evaluating them according to our affiliation with the brand. For example, I'm a big Samsung fan. So if I get a message from Samsung, I am not running it past the anchor points anymore. What I'm saying is, well, it's Samsung, it must be great. I love Samsung, why would I question this message? I have a fantastic phone, therefore everybody will like me. So instead of being objective, I'm being subjective. Instead of having a look and comparing and evaluating the message, I don't do that at all because I'm already so affiliated with the brand. The problem comes in when we are making huge purchases on the basis of our ego and not on the basis of our anchor points. For example, people buy cars not because they have compared the specifications of these cars or because they want to have a very good warranty on their car or motor plan. They are buying the cars because they like the color or because it's a cool car. And with an investment of 500,000 Rand, I would say maybe that's not a very good ground to purchase. So please keep in mind, if you're being objective, you're running the message past your anchor points. If you're being subjective and your ego takes over, you are running it past your ego involvement points. The elaboration likelihood model is somewhat similar, and Petty and Cacioppo actually say that sometimes when we are confronted with a persuasive message, we're extending a lot of thought, and sometimes we're not really extending a lot of thought. How much elaboration actually takes place? That's what they are asking. And obviously, one should think that the higher the price of the product that is being offered in the persuasive message, the more you would elaborate the message. So coming back to the car, if somebody says to me, buy this Volvo, it's an amazing car, because I have to fork out not even 500,000 Rand, let's call it 1,000,000 Rand, I will obviously elaborate the message very, very carefully, and I would run it past my central route of processing. Whereas if I get a message about the 4 for 100 Rand special, I don't have to really run that through my central route of processing. I run it through my peripheral route, my sideline, if you want. So whether we're going the central or the peripheral route has a lot to do with the situation that we're in and has a lot to do with the personality that we have. I would posit, and I know you don't like what I'm going to say now, but I would posit that the older you get, the more likely you are to use the central route of processing, whereas the younger you are, you will probably prefer the peripheral route. So to sum up, the central route says that you're evaluating persuasive messages in a thoughtful manner, whereas the peripheral route showcases you, the receiver, not really making an effort to think carefully about the ideas. As I said, when it comes to staples, we don't really go all deep. We don't really dig and think about whether to do it or not. Then we just do a spontaneous buy and we fall for the persuasive message. But that shouldn't be the case at all times. As I already pointed out, the individual plays a huge role whether the peripheral or the central route is being chosen. So let's have a look. Other variables that may come into play are the receiver's ability to scrutinize the message. A young person doesn't have the critical evaluation tactics available and the skills available to actually go for the central route. And also, they don't have the comparison yet. The receiver's biases. If I, as I said, love Samson, then of course I'm not going to go the central route. I'm not going to process and evaluate much. So my bias will put me on the peripheral route. Whereas if I hate Samson, then I will go the central route. There are also just individuals who love to evaluate stuff. That would be a personal trait and an idiosyncrasy, and it's a good one to have, by the way. The receiver's mood, of course, sometimes we just feel lazy and we don't really want to put everything on a scale and, measure everything. And then lastly, the prior knowledge of a topic. If you know a lot about cars, for example, you wouldn't have to evaluate a persuasive message about a car as thoroughly as you would with something that you don't know anything about. Here we go. The elaboration likelihood model and the social judgment and involvement theory are fantastic theories for you to understand how humans tick and how humans behave when they're confronted with persuasive messages in their everyday lives. I hope you enjoyed it, Schnookies. Until next time, bye!